Good day. My name is Renata Ferreira. I'm a teacher at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Norte, Brazil, and I want to thank the organizers of this symposium for inviting me to present this talk entitled Where Do We Go Now? The Challenges of Managing Rescued Capuchin Monkeys in Northeastern Brazil. I speak on behalf of my colleagues from the Brazilian Federal Agency for Protection of Environment, those that work in the rescue centers. Characteristic of the Anthropocene biodiversity laws. Every year, millions of animals are received by the rescue centers worldwide. This is an increasing conservation issue, and the fate of these individuals is an ethical debate that guides economical, management, and legal decisions. Since 2008, IUCN organizes reports on case studies on reintroduction and translocation of species. Of the total of 418 cases, most of them were classified as successful or partially successful. In this last report, there were 3 translocation studies conducted in Brazil, one of them a successful translocation of howler monkeys. International Primatological Society acknowledged that reintroductions are a feasible conservation strategy and that the use of wild-born, rescued, and rehabilitated primates reduces costs and increases success on reintroduction. While translocation of apes and old world monkeys has a sort of long history, a literature review of published studies returns only 10 cases of reintroduction of neotropical primates, most of them with no data on post-release survival. There are 53 and an equal number of state and private rescue centers in Brazil. A recent study using official records of entries in the 9 states of northeastern Brazil indicates that the number of primates doubled in the last 4 years, from 150 to over 300, resulting in a mean of 2 primates received per month by each rescue center. And if we extrapolate these numbers to Brazil, we reach over 100 primates received per month and over 1,000 primates received per year only in the federal rescue centers. This number doubles if we include state and private rescue centers. Most of these individuals are healthy. Individuals from native and non-endangered species stays longer in the rescue centers. Release back into the wild is the legal orientation for healthy animals, but difficulties in following the appropriate protocols for release or in finding zoos and sanctuaries for receiving the animals result in primates staying for years ex situ. These numbers are only for Brazil. Capuchin monkeys are the second most common genus received at northeastern Brazil rescue centers. Birded capuchin monkeys are typical from dry biomes, where they use stones to crack open nuts. Capuchin monkeys are also traditional pets for local population, although recent media posts are increasing the illegal traffic for selling them as pets in large cities. Here, I will present an overview of 11 release campaigns of capuchin monkeys to which I was invited to follow. The campaigns were conducted by 3 rescue centers as part of their legal duties. In total, 144 capuchin monkeys were released. Individuals were always released in groups, although they could be kept in different social groups ex situ, this one for example. With the exception of one campaign, all were hard release. But supplemental food was offered during the period of post-release monitoring. Basic exams were conducted, such as hemogram and screening for parasites, and 2 diseases, rabies and tuberculosis. More recently, screening for arbovirus, including yellow fever, Zika, and also herpes, were included. However, species identification is still conducted morphologically. All individuals are released in putative area of occurrence. Males are vasectomized, but surgery in females are harder to conduct. All animals passed through rehabilitation procedures, although with different duration and the first ones without a proper protocol. Release in islands were interrupted due to impact on local fauna and the need for continuous food supply. Now animals are released in continuous area. Post-release monitoring were conducted in all campaigns, although it was easier to follow animals in islands than in continuous areas. Confirmed survivorship is of 50% 3 months after and 25% 6 months after release. I myself visited two areas 10 years after release, and I could confirm the presence of still some animals and the establishment of local populations. However, birth could not occur since males were vasectomized. Confirmed death is of 37% after 6 months, although number shows decreased mortalities when animals are released in continuous areas. But this can be due to the can be biased by the difficulties in following animals in continuous areas. Return of animals to local house did occur in 4 campaigns, totaling 8% of animals released. Along these 15 years, there were some advances in procedures, but some bottlenecks still remain. The first important advance regards the disease screening. In the beginning, exams were conducted depending on specific projects related to master's or PhD projects to universities. Now, we are establishing partnership with official federal laboratories, and exams are being included in the government financial budget. A bottleneck that remains is the genetic screening for species identification. This is due to the lack of easy primers and labs to conduct the analysis. One important study in this regard is the one conducted by Martins and colleagues regarding the area of distribution of two different species that occur in northeastern Brazil. The rehab protocol increased from 4 weeks to 4 months, including procedures for group formation and training for locomotor and foraging skill. Another important advance is the procedures for choosing the release areas. In a partnership with Dr. Sarah Turner and Angela Cross from Concordia University, Montreal, we are developing habitat suitability models based on distribution of trees that produce nuts consumed by capuchins, presence of water reservoirs, and distance from human settlements. The post-release monitoring that used to be conducted by searching animals by foot or in camera traps is now conducted by radio and GPS collars so we can better access movement and survivorship of animals. The contact with local population is taking longer, and we are using online platforms to combat primate pet keeping and increasing awareness. Finally, we are working to establish experimental release areas which are partially degraded but that are still contains an area that are appropriate for restoration, where we can follow the impact of released capuchins on local fauna and flora. Nevertheless, some criticism still. Reversing the foundation requires a new perspective for biodiversity conservation. Rewild is not the return of an ecosystem to a pre-human state. Rather, it's a future-oriented, in which species interaction are managed in landscape shared by humans and wildlife. The fate of millions of animals received every year worldwide depend on this. I thank all my colleagues that collaborate with me in many projects, and in particular, I thank those that daily stand the emotional and logistic burden to care for these animals. You are hero, guys. Thank you very much.